Hello, hello, everybody. Apologies because I had a technical problem. It is the PC behind the keyboard. So we had some technical problems here, but it's good. We are here. Let me change everything to our format. And good evening, everybody. Today's topic is types of mediumship and spiritism. Again, Dan Assisi is with us. I hope he can make this month of November, this February with us. It's dedicated entirely month to the mediumship, and I think that's it for me. So, Dan, good evening, my friend.
Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you, even though we're separated by a couple of hours. But what a great blessing to be able to see all your faces and talk about important topics, even if we are in different countries across this beautiful world of ours. Pleasure to be here with you today.
Good, good. Miss Gibbons, good evening, my dear.
Good evening to you, Stevan. Good evening, all of you. Charles, nice to have you back with us, and Steve and Elsa. And I hope that everyone, will join us, ask questions, make comment. And it's a special conversation, as always. Mediumship is something extremely important. Everybody has it. And sometimes people don't know much about it. So hopefully with these talks, and discussions we're having, we'll be able to bring a little more understanding what mediumship is to people who may not know about it. So it'll be a very interesting conversation.
Good, thank you. Good evening, my dear Elsa. How are you?
Yes, good evening, dear Stevan, dear Dan, my dear Dan, Charles, dear Silvia. It is wonderful to be here once again, especially having Dan Assisi listening and friends that will be with us later on YouTube. Everyone will be welcome and to chat, to send messages, to send questions, to with comments, etc. That is interacting. It's very good for ourselves. So God bless us. Thank you so much.
Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Steven. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Amazing, Dan, isn't it? Huh? Who would think about this only a little bit more than a decade ago, isn't it? Impossible or very expensive whatsoever. No, we are here together across the continents, across the oceans, and to be gathered today with people also watching from everywhere to talk about mediumship. Indeed, a very important subject. It's we are all mediums. We have a soul. A lot of our fellows ignore the power of our soul, and mediumship is really one of these powers that God has given us, in order to help us. So we have to make use of it, because that's what we will try to explain today.
Yeah, yeah. Good. Okay. Types of mediumship. Um, as we keep going in this series, we do have different types of mediumship. Um, the mainly types of mediumship work written is part of the mediumship book, the medium's book, written by Allan Kardec. So we will try to address uh, most of them here. And if we miss someone, please apologize for ourselves. And let's let's start with our guest, Dan. What is the most common mediumship phenomena?
Ah, so hi everyone again. I'm excited to be here, and I think that we should. I just want to, before anything else, just take a piggyback right on what Charles said about mediumship in general too, and it's just a beautiful way for us to really be in contact with the spiritual world. And I want to take a moment there before we dive into the types of mediumship, just to acknowledge the importance that mediumship can play in our lives, in our society, by saying that mediumship really teaches us to be empathic or empathetic to each other, right? Because we can feel each other in ways that sometimes we would not be able to. And I also want to say that the second great value of mediumship, in my perspective, is that it really allows us to have a faster feedback loop for our evolution. Because of mediumship, we no longer need to wait until we are discarnate to get great advice from our spiritual mentors. We can get it while we're here on earth, and we can change direction, do the GPS course correction that we're so used to, right? Sometimes when we get lost. And so it's a wonderful way for us to be able to do that. Having said that, I also want to acknowledge that there's a diversity of mediumship types out there, and we're going to talk about that before we jump into some of the most common ones, right? And I think that's also beautiful because it shows how God is always giving us tools and resources that are equipped or matched to our experiences. It makes sense that we would have different mediumistic abilities given our experiences and our inclinations, right? So, Kardec begins to really bring that together in the Medium's book, which is the first treatise that has ever been written about mediumship in the world. It's an amazing book that really starts to set the tone and brings mediumship to anybody who wants to learn about it, right? Before the Medium's book, if you wanted to learn about mediumship, you had to have a guru or teacher or somebody who would be initiated and tell you. After the Medium's book, here you have a treatise that you can try to learn and understand by yourself. It democratizes mediumistic abilities and interactions and brings us to the realm of anybody can learn about this. And so in that book, he does something amazing. Being the educator that he is, he tries to put mediumship into buckets so that we can better understand that. He talks about physical effects. He talks about intellectual effects. He talks about special kinds of cases. There's three different big topics, right? But I think if anything else that you carry away from today's conversation is that mediumship is also in a spectrum, and it never exactly the same for two people. There's always different pieces. And just because you're one type doesn't mean you're not the other. In the Spiritist practice, right, we have tended to prioritize speaking mediumship, psychophony, because it's helpful in our therapeutic mediumistic meetings to help others. As the medium has the ability to voice the perceptions and thoughts of the spirit, we're able to talk to that spirit, have a dialogue, and hopefully we can get to another place. So within the Spiritist perspective, one of the most common or most commonly used mediumistic abilities that you are going to see is that of psychophony, the speaking on behalf of the mediums. But there's not to say that we don't have tons of different ones in there, right? We have hearing mediums, we have speaking mediums, seeing mediums, inspirational mediums, presentiment mediums, musical medium. There are all kinds of different abilities in there. There's medical mediumship, there's painting mediumship, there's scientific mediums, there's all different kinds of mediums out there. And we want to make sure that that can be very confusing for folks, but it's also very helpful for us to understand, because after all, everyone is a medium, differing only in degree, right? We all can perceive the spiritual world. It's just that some of us are able to do that to a level that is more clear and transparent and obvious. And while others, like myself, are more inspirational mediums, they receive more the inspiration than the actual thoughts and so forth. So I would say that in the Spiritist practice, one of the most common types of mediumship is psychophony, is the speaking piece. But that's not to say that the seeing mediumship or the hearing mediumship or the inspirational mediumship are not also very common across the population as a whole. But I would love to toss it up there to my colleagues here in the broadcast to see if folks have a different perspective they might want to offer.
Good. Charles, my friend, what's your perspective?
Yes, I think Dan made an outstanding introduction. And I would maybe just insist, I mean, mediumship exists since mankind exists. Mediumistic phenomenon exists in all the old religious texts or writings or whatever. You find a lot of examples of happenings, and it went without stopping over the Middle Age and until today. And the big revolution that Kardec brought is to organize according to the scientific method, observation of the different cases he could observe in several groups, several places, and then make a treaty out of it. And I think Dan is right. I mean, it's the first treaty which is really heavily, very well organized, structured, and so on. And I would say until today, it's still the best, most complete, self-standing treaty on the subject. You have, of course, a lot of others who came later on to complete this or that aspect. But as a general view, really, it's how to say it? It's really something new. It's a disruption who came, particularly in the way to demystify the mediumship. And, you are medium, blah, blah. Until today, we have this type of reaction, as it is something supernatural. Supernatural does not exist. And Kardec made this very clear, and with the feet on the floor, observed and brought us all these teachings. So, and as we have told also last week, it's the most common type of last week we have told everyone is medium. Okay, we are all mediums, but the word is used only for how to say a certain degree ostensible mediumship. But who has not inspiration, intuition? Who does never hear or feel the voice of his own conscience? We all have this. We may keep them silent. We may not be willing to listen to it, but we all have it, And of course, this is the most common type of mediumship overall. And Dan gave also the right answer. I think it's psychophony and psychography. Of course, then we can classify, as we have started already last time. There are the physical effect mediumship and the intellectual effect mediumship. These are two big classes. All what is physical effect mediumship is haunted house, raps, moving tables, bringing objects, materialization, ectoplasmy, and so on. This is all a physical effect mediumship. Yeah. Sorry?
Healing as well.
Healing to a certain degree as well, yes, because sending fluids, ectoplasm inclusive, to heal a person. And then you have the intellectual effect mediumship, which is then receiving messages, writing advices, answering questions, making reports and different things. So these are the two big classes. And within those classes, of course, we have a lot of subclasses that we also can enter in detail of them. And even then, there are some other type of classification, like Dan told, is more intuitive mediumship. You have people who are more mechanical or automatic mediumship. This means they are writing something without knowing what they are writing with a pen on a paper. Even they can talk to a different on a different subject with another person who is beside, continuing writing something automatically. This is a automatic writing, which is sometimes totally inconscient. So there are, between this conscient intuitive mediumship and the totally automatic, there is again another type of classification to be done. But okay, that's my introduction. So also giving field for our dear Elsa and Silvia, hoping she will come back soon.
Yeah, Silvia is having technical problems. And just addressing here, Thais Ferrari, she asked us, can a medium have a variety of mediumship types, for example, speaking, writing, painting, inspirational? Thais, I think the past, what Dan said and Charles reiterate, addressed your question here. If you still have any doubts, please write us here because we can clarify in along of our talk here, our discussion here, we will address your question. Okay. So, my dear Elsa, when we let's talk about now fraternal assistance. Okay, when a person, spiritist or non-spiritist, but they are not active spiritists, they don't go to the spirit center, but they look for a fraternal assistance because they are seeing problems with mediumship. I'm seeing things, this is happening, what I'm doing, So what is the best advice we can give to someone who is experiencing any kind of these phenomena we are describing here?
When you want something, you go to the shops. You buy something, you go to the shops. When you need something for your headache, you go to the doctor. You have a medicine. When you are experiencing what you're saying, seeing dead people, hearing voices, etc., and see sometimes votes, ghosts, etc., you can go to a spirit center, talk with someone, explain, because it's more common than we think that we have. It's so common. People are seeing things, but people can ignore what they are seeing. They think that there's a problem with their vision, their brain, etc. Go to the psychiatrist, doctor, etc. But I don't say that you don't go there. You need to go to the doctor, of course, if you have a problems. But if you are seeing that people hearing voices, you can have premonition and something happened that you was before in your mind, you can go to a spirit center, talk to a fraternal assistance in private, talk with the people there. You will receive information, clarification, read a book, see a messages or a lecture, or start a study, and understand that you are a medium. That is the phenomena that occurs or appears to be only with you. No, it's more common that we think with the other people. Most of the people that are going to the Spirit Center, that they are feeling, they have some kind of premonition or mediumship that they don't know about, even the word mediumship. But in Spirit Center, we cover all these kind of things and can study and prepare, perhaps to be a medium, to work as a medium, have the freedom to help other people with the other side, or even here, even mediums, different type of mediums, can be a healer. You can help with your faculty to use your magnetic power, to use your spiritual power, to use your spiritual connection, to understand that you have a guide, a spiritual guide, that guide you to know about more what you're feeling. But don't you worry, don't be panic, but go to a spirit center. We are not, what we do there, we pray, we have a fluidified water, we have children learning about spirituality for kids, for youth people. We have a lot of things for free. It's a freedom of our mind to go there and see that such a relief. I'm not from other world. I am a spirit incarnated and have this faculty that I can use for good, for me and for others. That's it.
Good. Thank you. My dear Silvia, are you okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good. Good. So, tell me, my dear, um, what's your not favorite, but what's the phenomena most attract catch your attention in this spiritism, in the mediumship?
Um, Actually, I I'm not attracted to the phenomenon actually, um, because I have started the studies, and there are so many different types of mediumship. I think as many as there are human beings, they have different types of mediumship. I think one of the most important things, and I think in terms of what the Spiritism teaches us, is that mediumship is means for us to help others, is something that is given to us as an extra part for our incarnation, so we can help other people in difficulties. And it's ability that may be given to us to assist in a different way. I could think maybe in terms of mental health. I think Elsa was talking a little bit about it. So many people think they have mental problems, and maybe it's just a question of mediumship being flourishing in them, because mediumship, some people are born with, some people develop it later, and even quite later on in life, many people don't. Although we know that every one of us, we have mediumship because we're spirits, um, but not ostensively. And I know cases of people who never had it during their lives. And actually, they were spiritists, working mediumship work, always doing, facilitating, talking to the spirits. And they developed when they were in their late 50s. So it's something that we can develop, and we can lose it as well, especially if we don't use it or don't use it well. So, I mean, the phenomenon itself, there are many phenomena, isn't it? But I think nowadays there is less. I think one of the most things that I could think that would be a phenomenon that impresses people, is those meters have ability to transport objects from one place to another, or to be able to have the voice, the medium will speak with the voice of someone who is disconnected. That's something very impressive to be able to watch. Also, movement and ability to play an instrument or to do painting. I think is very impressive. Say, for instance, we are going to receive the visit of Lourenço Anton, which is a Brazilian medium, and he paints under the influence of spirits. And it's incredible because the paintings are absolutely beautiful. And it's amazing that while he's painting, he's working so many different colors, and yet it doesn't stain the painting. I mean, I think ordinarily anyone would do, having the gloves full of different colors, they would stain everything, but he doesn't, and it's amazing. So I think in question of phenomenon, um, I think those impress me. The ability to maybe play an instrument, like Rosemary Brown, I think her name is, an English medium, very well-known lady, and that she could play the piano. I mean, she could play normally. She had learned the piano, but she, in her normal state, she couldn't get half of the way she would under the influence of the spirits. And as I say, Florencio Anton doing the paintings, which are impressive. And I think probably, the painters would take months to do something, and he does in 10, 15 minutes. That's very impressive. But I think mostly, taking all this, and I think basically that's what Spiritism teaches us, is that mediumship is a means to help, to assist, to guide, and to serve. This is basically, and I think, we talked about this before, but it's always good to emphasize that in Spiritism, mediumship is something that's free, is not used as a profession. We don't get paid for the work because we are just the intermediary. And all the work we do is voluntarily, and is for love, is for service. Did I answer your question? I hope
Of course you did.
have.
Of course you did. And you got more questions in my mind. But also, we do. First of all, let's address the people who are with us today, because you have a very good audience. Let me see, Thais Ferrari, Kardec UK, our friend Munir Gariba. Thank you for Munir for being here with us. Alu VM, Mark Sean. Good evening, guys. Let me give here. Kardec UK is written, I think also mediumship can vary. For example, sometimes I can feel presence easily. Other periods I cannot feel presence, but I can hear more. Other times not happens. I may be the frequency changes. Oh, Kardec. I am Kardec. I wish Kardec was here, no? But Charles.
Actually, sorry, Stevan, I think there is a question as well from Thais, which is very relevant.
We already addressed.
Variety of mediums.
Yeah,
you have?
Yeah, we already addressed this.
Have you
her
already
question, because
replied to her?
it is the answer. Dan's answer. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, the mediumship can vary. The faculty is not something which is very constant. It depends on a lot of factors. Depends also on our mindset, if we are stressed or not, if we are ill or not, if we are, we have ups and downs, and all this has an influence on the mediumship. So feeling presence or hearing or suspension of the mediumship is frequently observed a little bit everywhere. So nothing strange in this. Generally, well, as I told at the beginning, everyone is medium. Some are medium to more ostensibly, let's say so. How to know if you are medium or not? There is no diagnostic so far, no PET scan or whatever to detect if we are medium or not. The only way to know if we are or not is to test it, is to try. And we learn according to this mediumship. What happens also a lot is at the beginning we have one type of mediumship, and during the education and we are working and learning and studying, the type of mediumship changes. There are several examples also on this, people who started seeing, and then at the end they had intuition, or it changed completely, so it is we are far from knowing all the factors. The only thing we know is the predisposition to be medium or not is something in our physical body. this is what the spirits are answering. So some people have started researches about this. There is, amongst others, a theory which is quite well spread around about the pineal gland, that there could be some apatite crystals which have some magnetic properties which are more present for the people who are medium and others which are not. But it is not so simple. A lot of people, I have seen also another study, quite detailed on this subject, which is showing sometimes there is apatite, but no mediumship, and sometimes there is mediumship and there is no apatite. So it's a little bit more complex than just that. And I think this will require a lot of researchers. But again, I come back. What we main message that I want to give through today is we should demystify the mediumship. Mediumship is a natural faculty that has to be studied and investigated seriously and scientifically, and not through thinking it is miracle or supernatural. No, nothing like that. A lot of people are exactly taking advantage of this, that the mediumship is not well known, in order to abuse and even to explore it financially, or to manipulate some other people or whatever. So this is a great message also from Kardec to give a stop to that. No, okay, let's now enter and observe mediumship seriously and scientifically.
Right.
And from a personal perspective, it's also really great for us to be aware of ourselves. As we begin to understand mediumship, we start to ask ourselves too whether we are taking actions or being influenced to think in specific ways that may not be to our advantage. When we become aware of this extra layer of the spiritual world, if I'm having a conversation, say, with Stevan, and all of a sudden I start thinking that Stevan doesn't like me or he has an agenda, I can start asking myself whether that's an impression that I have gathered through observation, or if perhaps that is somebody else's impression that might be influencing me in my personal relationships. And regardless of where that comes from, I have a choice to fact check that impression and make sure that I put my sentiments and my feelings in check and really see if they are based on warranted, actions, and therefore have better relationships. Right? So it's also very important for us to get to know ourselves. It adds a whole different layer of perception. Sometimes when we go into a room or a place and we don't feel a great vibration in there, and we begin to get maybe a little bit more jumpy or a little bit more rude or a little bit more aggressive, maybe that's not a great environment for us. Either we can leave that environment or we can work on reestablishing our inner calm and to be our best version of ourselves. So it's really about, in many different ways, not only serving others, but also learning quite a bit about ourselves and how to carry ourselves in different situations.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And take the opportunity, Dan, you are here. We have a question from Mark Sean. He says, how can be sure that spirits are benevolent? And our friend, Heiael Athena, he kind of helping us here. He said to Mark, we attract what we are. If you are in a state of anger inside, we attract spirits who match us in ways. It's why they all say to not do stuff when we are upset and unsettled. But for the most part, most spirits who contact us are only allowed to contact us because it's part of how our souls wanted things set up for their life. My friend, do you have anything to add, to comment about the question and the help from Heiael here?
I would add that Kardec did a beautiful job telling us about how to verify the identity of spirits in the Medium's book. It's chapter 24. In it, he talks to us about how can we know that the spirits that are communicating with us or influencing us are good spirits, or who they are. and he proposes a series of different things, that sometimes spirits may not clearly identify themselves. They may want to impersonate others. That's important for us to have a certain moral and intellectual coherence. And that is to really investigate if the actions of and ideas of the people who are talking with you, whether they are spirits or incarnate beings, right, make sense. We have to put their influences, their ideas, through the filter of reason to see if that which they are proposing to say is really true. And I think that in many different ways, this is a really great practice for us to have, not only with spirit communication, but with any communication. We're all influenced by people who are still in the flesh too. We have a major social problem where a lot of people out there say they are for certain things, they are for unity, they are for betterment of all people, but their actions denote different things. So I think it's really, again, about this inner journey that we all must undergo and say, I've heard this. Why is somebody saying this? Do their actions really match what they said? They said they are really nice people, but they are telling me that I should not listen to other people because they are not smart or dumb. That doesn't seem like somebody who cares about others, right? So we need to put the content of the communication in check. We need to ask ourselves whether it matches the purpose of the communication, regardless of who it comes from. Because many times, just like nowadays, and fake media and deep fakes and so forth, it is possible for you to give somebody a spirit communication that has a beautiful elevated name at the bottom, a signatory, or somebody who signed a communication as being a very enlightened, known spirit, but the content of the communication does not match that name. And so we have to use our rational perspective to see if the content matches the signer, the credibility, and whether it makes sense to adopt that in our lives, right? We should not take things at face value, Kardec tells us from the beginning. We should think about this. We should meditate. We should ponder. And in some instances, we should sit and wait until we have more proof that matches that initial desire for us to do something, right? And I think that those are great critical skills that Kardec always suggests we should develop in our dealings with the world, be it the physical world or the spiritual world. We just have to kind of think about this and see if their consequences to that communication or our consequences of our actions are those that we really want to, right? So that's why it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to go back inside of ourselves and really think about, why am I doing the things I am doing? Or should I do this? What are the consequences of my actions if I do this? What are the consequences of my actions if I don't do this? Which is the best choice for me as an immortal spirit who's constantly growing? These are very self-centric questions, but they help us understand the tenor and the tone and the content of the communication to see whether they come from good spirits. Because as we see, for instance, in some gospel-related comments, that a fruit never falls too far from the tree. If it's a good source, right, the communication is going to be good in content and purpose. If it's a not so great source, then the content and the tenor are not going to be as great because it's not in there. So it's always great for us to see if that coherence, the intellectual and the moral coherence, if they are aligned in a communication, whether it comes from the spirits or if it comes from our incarnate friends who are also wanting us to do specific things. So for those who are interested in fighting spiritual fakes, right, or material fakes, I think a read of the chapter in the Medium's book, chapter 24, is an enlightening one, whatever the purpose of your desire to develop this critical thinking process.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. Mark Abdelmahed Ahmed and Hayel say thank you for the great answer.
Yeah, thank you for listening and posting these questions. These are so important, right? These questions are so contemporary. We think that if we just look at the Medium's book as something that was written in the 1860s, as old and no longer relevant, we miss the opportunity to implement this great thinking that was done by Kardec, and more importantly, the elevated spirits, to teach us about how to see the world with an immortal lens that changes the way we do things. So I think that what we see in Kardec is extremely, extremely contemporary, extremely modern, extremely applicable to our world. So I love that we're having a chance together to go through this and see the connections for our everyday life.
Great. My dear Silvia, the mediumship is constantly bombarded by the influence of the medium or not. If it's a fake communication, it's not a fake communication. And I would like to know what's your thoughts, what's your considerations. Does a medium know what's going on during a communication or during the mediumship phenomena, or he's completely unaware what's happening? Can you give us some food for thought, please?
Well, there are two types of mediumship. There is the one that the person is what they call the mechanical medium, that the medium almost takes, the spirit takes hold of their hands and will write or say, and the medium is almost unaware of it. And I think this very rare. There are fewer mediums like that than the others who have an idea of what's going on. Having said that, there's mechanical medium, the same mechanical medium, the intuitive mediums, and all the different. But even the mechanical medium, the medium always has the control. They cannot allow the spirits to take them over and just do whatever they like. I think this, as you work in mediumship, especially if you work in a very cohesive group of very serious people who take the work very, very seriously. And as you develop, you progress, you learn more and more, you acquire experience, become easier to do that. Say, for instance, a spirit who come maybe very hungry and start hitting the table and all that kind of thing. The medium must not allow it. So even those who almost lose control in a way, they always have the control, because it's actually your body that's being used. So you need to have the control. When the spirits will say whatever words come, if maybe cruel or not nice, the medium can stop the spirit. They can stop the communication. So in a way, it is responsibility of the medium what the spirit will do. And this is, very much acquired with your experience. The more you work, the more you develop. And I think this is very, very important. If anyone is beginning the process of mediumship work, you as a medium always have the control of what the spirit does. And if they are very aggressive, and if they are very, say bad things or want to use violence, you can stop it. You can break the connection. And one of the things of working in a group with very serious people is exactly that, because the other mediums and the other people who are doing the support work will be praying, and then we, in a serious group, you have the spiritual team of workers, the mentor of the group, and the spirits will have a control of that as well. So, but basically, the medium is the one who directs the work, because they cannot allow the spirits to say things. And I give an example. I remember once, when I was working, the spirits I tried to move, and I just would not move. And then he started complaining that he had been tied up. He couldn't move his son. Somebody had tied him up. But it wasn't. It was just my will over his, that he was not going to slam the table, bang on the table. So, but this, takes time and experience, but it does happen. But the control is always the control of the medium. Now, I think a point that I like to make is that we are in a mediumship group working with the other mediums, working, like I said, with a spiritual team of workers, the mentors and everything, and the people that are very serious. It doesn't mean that sometimes the spirit controls one when in the process of obsession of a person, or when the person does not know, even if they have a mediumship, and they have all sorts of things. It's sometimes you see people talking to themselves or hitting themselves, or sometimes it's a spirit controlling them. Some people might not know that they have mediumship, because mediumship, it happens, it's natural phenomenon, like we said last week. So there are people who are mediums, whether they like it or not, or know or not. And sometimes, they are under the influence of a spirit. And because they don't have that backup, they more or less under some influence there. But, if they can find someone to talk to, and it's very, very important. And I think just going from a point that Dan was talking before, I think in mediumship, one of the most important things for the medium to know is to know himself, to know what kind of person he is, his moods and things, because you need to identify when it's yours and when it's not. I remember before I started working, I used to go from being, because I'm not a bad mood kind of person. I'm always high, and suddenly I was feeling like the world had come to an end. I was very down, very sad. Sometimes I would even cry. And I used to think that there was something wrong with me, especially, like if I got into the tube or in the bus. I remember once going in the bus and I was, all cheerful, looking forward to the day. And suddenly I started feeling very unhappy, very sad. It was like the world. And, I felt so down. But then afterwards that I realized and I learned that was not my, I wasn't mentally ill. I was having all this influence, but because I wasn't aware of it. And then when I started studying about Spiritism and got into a mediumship and learned a lot before I got to a mediumship group. And, those things now, sometimes I still feel them because you get influenced by people around you. And, now I know how to control, and I know what's mine and what's not mine. And I think, but this is an exercise that everyone maybe listening to us now can actually do. If you are, something happened in your life that you are concerned, is something that really taking, you were worried about it, or something that was sad. Okay, you are sad, but if there is nothing bad happening and, you start having feelings of sadness or anger or something, you can know that's not yours. So, if you are a person who pray and ask for help. If not, listen to a piece of music that's very soothing, or read something that, lifts your spirit up. But this is very important for us to know ourselves most of all, because then we know what it is ours and what it is not ours. Because I think I don't know if it was Elsa or Dan, I think you said that as well, Stevan. Not only we have influenced by the spirits, we get influenced by spirits, but we also get influenced by incarnate people, and we also influence other people. So one of the reasons why we have to maintain our thoughts positive, good, with a sense of joy and laughter and love and forgiveness, is because we are sending out into to space, into the universe, those thoughts. And that's what we influence other people all the time as well, and they influence us. Even incarnate is not only from a spirit we incarnate, but we also, as incarnate, can disturb the spirits.
Yeah.
We can, especially someone lose someone and keep calling them back, or remembering maybe the bad things that happen. We disturb them as well. It's not something, they all influence us. We influence each other. We influence the spirits. They influence us. There is the whole thing, because we connect via our thoughts, and thoughts are energy, and a very, very powerful energy. So I think one of the first things that we know in knowing ourselves is to learn to control what we think, and to be, as much as positive. I think this is a very important point, not only for mediums, but for everyone, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Great, my dear. Thank you so much for your answer. And let me just read the final comments here. Cardiac, okay, it's Priscilla. So welcome, Priscilla, to our spiritual light. Let me see. We do have some comments here for Mark Shaw. Thanks so much for these conversations. There is a lot of new science about spirit and body connection. Where is the spirit in relation to the body? Charles, final question.
That's a good one. Basically, we don't know yet. Okay. What we know is that by analyzing the way we incarnated, okay, so there is one first stem cell at the beginning after fecundation that is dividing and dividing and dividing, and then all of a sudden you see it's dividing, giving in 3 dimensions, making head, arms, legs, and so on. Dividing also making the different functions, skin, muscles, bone, whatever. So there is somehow a pattern. There is a model which is being followed by this material development of the embryo. Science doesn't know where it comes from, There is no explanation for that. And the spiritist explanation is that it is the spirit and the spiritual body which is incarnated into this, since the conception, into this stem cell, which is the pattern and which then is leading the development of the embryo until birth of the baby. Scientifically, there is no explanation for this. The second principle of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, normally it's not organizing. The things are naturally de-organizing. So here it is organizing. That this means there is energy coming from somewhere. Of course, there is some energy coming from the mother because she's eating and bringing, the nutriments and the organic matter and so on. But it's not the mother who if it would follow the pattern of the mother, all the babies would be female, but some babies are male. So it doesn't come from the pattern of the mother, Some very simple thoughts like that are leading to confirm the spiritist hypothesis and the teaching coming from the spirit that the pattern is the spiritual body, okay? So there is a link of the spiritual body, which is, I would say, cell by cell. And in the spiritist, in the answer the spirits gave, it's even molecule by molecule, So in which nature, how is this link done? This is what we don't know yet, There is an interface somehow between the physical body and the spirit via the spiritual body. The spiritual body, which is material, but not of the same matter as the matter studied in physics, but which has an influence on it. So this is exactly what scientific investigation should also now go more in depth. How is this interface done? How is some spirit through a semi-material spiritual body acting and maintaining life into a physical body? So I just can say there are some hypotheses which have been already advanced by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, who I think they are Americans, who emitted the hypothesis that it is a Bose-Einstein condensation into the nanostructures which are existing in the microtubulus of our neurons in the brain. Did you follow me? So it's quite complex. So it is an hypothesis. So the researchers have started, and we as Spiritists encourage strongly to continue, even contribute to the researchers, because some other people came later on and said no, because this Bose-Einstein condensation phenomenon is a quantic reaction, and they made by calculation it cannot happen in the ambient condition, temperature and pressure condition of our brain. Its temperature and pressure should be completely different. And there is a spiritist lady who brought an additional contribution saying, if there is a given type of antiparticle brought by the spirit or by the spiritual body, then yes, this condensation can happen in the ambient conditions. So you see, just to make a quick introduction, so we don't know yet. There are some hypotheses, but yet to be investigated and confirmed.
Charles, maybe you could very briefly give a little, just say something to Athena, because she says that she doesn't see the difference between spirit and soul. She gets confused. What is it? She thinks she's dyslexic.
Yes.
Could you just give a quick explanation to her?
This is a question of vocabulary. What do you understand as spirit? What do you understand as soul? When we spiritists talk about spirit, the signification is clearly the immaterial parts of ourselves. When you talk to a materialist, psychologist, or even psychiatric doctor, they will say that the spirit is a product of the brain. So for them, the spirit is something produced by something material, So that's the importance of clearly defining the words when we talk, so that we can understand ourselves. And of course, spirit and soul are quite similar, but here I'm a little bit not 100% sure that what I say will be fully applicable for the English language. In the French language, Kardec made it very clear in the introduction of the Spirit's book. He thought the word soul has a different meaning. It has several meanings, and one of the meaning is, for instance, in France, you have 60 million of soul, means incarnated spirits, So the difference is the soul is a spirit which is incarnated, And when we discarnate, we go back to the spiritual world. We talk about spirit. For instance, there may be a spirit here aside me. I would not say it's a soul. A soul is mine or Elsa's or Stevan's or whatever when it is incarnated. So that's a little difference between spirit and soul. So Dan or somewhere correct me if the understanding in English language is a little bit different from the French one.
No, it's the same, Charles. We also take within the Spiritist context to mean that the soul, when we use soul, just for clarity of language, right? We really mean a spirit who is in a physical body. And that just makes the communication piece easier. But of course, outside the Spiritist context, it could mean the same thing as a spirit. But in our context, to make things easier when we're speaking, we just tend to use that Kardecian or Kardecian definition that we see in the beginning of the Spirit's book that helps us understand that when we relate to the soul, we're talking about an incarnate spirit. just for ease of communication and clarity. But that's, again, the Spiritist context, right?
Yes. So, my friends, it is time to go. We are already 5 minutes past. So, I want to say thank you to Severina, to Priscilla, Marco Davis, Hey Aiel, Athena, Mark Sean. Let me see more. Abdi Ahmed, Thais Ferrari. So, Luviem, our friend Munir, Realia. So, Dan, it is here with us. Silvia, Charles, Elsa, thank you so much. Let me quickly go here through our announcements, because today, yes, we do have announcements. And let me share my screen here.
While you share your screen, Stevan, would you like to say hello for Ahmed? For a long time, I don't see Ahmed. I will meet Ahmed any time from now.
Okay. Good. So next week, 19th of February, the dangers of mediumship. That's our topic for next week, the dangers of mediumship. 19th of February at
And
9.
Munir will be with us.
And Munir Gariba going to be with us. Well, thank you, Munir. Thank you. Our friend Dan, he has other commitments. But in the following week, 26, Dan is going to be with us as well. So thank you, Munir. Let me go. So next week as well, 22nd of February, we will have our friend Florence Anton with mediumship seminar in mediumistic painting. So a bit what we discussed today, you will have the experience to see this in person. So our dear Silvia going to be there translating to English. So I hope you guys be aware. If you want to get more details, please go to buiss.org.uk website. You have more details over there. So also on the Sunday of the 2nd of March, we will have our dear friend Vanessa Anceloni from Kardec Radio giving her speech about Ernesto Bozano. So this is going to be on the 2nd of March. It's a Sunday at 7 p.m. London time. Also, we will have from 29 to 30th of March, the first European Spiritist Congress. This Congress will be, the official language, it is in Portuguese, but will be translated into 6 languages. Okay, so you have the point in your ears. Okay, so this is going to be in Kloten, in Zurich, in Switzerland. Also, on the June 7 and 8 of June, we will have a European Spiritist gathering in Finland. Dan, this is something for you to think about, my friend. You could join us in Finland. Save the date. It is a lot of topics we're going to talk about: virtual mediumship meetings, healing and spiritual therapy, how spiritist groups can help, spiritist communication studies, importance of universal moral laws. So a lot of subjects for those who are in doubt about the spiritism, how to handle spiritism in your country, in your group. And this is open to everyone. There is no requirements for this meeting. So just go with your open heart, open mind, and we will help you to address any question, any doubt you may have. Okay, so this is it from us today. Once again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kardec Radio, for the important space for us. Thank you, Dan, for your availability. I know it's lunchtime. Probably your dinner is on your your lunch is on a microwave. So have a good lunch. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
God
Bye-bye.
bless.
God bless everyone.